College dorm life is a unique experience that most of us can relate to in some way. It's that special time in our lives when we're thrown together with complete strangers, expected to share tiny living spaces, and somehow forge friendships that often last a lifetime. I still remember my sophomore year at State University like it was yesterday, even though it's been several years now. The cramped rooms, the late-night study sessions, and of course, the unforgettable weekends that somehow always manage to produce the best stories. This particular story is about one of those nights, a night that started as a typical weekend pub crawl, but ended up changing the dynamic between me and my roommate in ways I never expected. Let me tell you about Alex. He was the kind of guy everyone wanted to be friends with, charismatic, always smiling, and perpetually ready for adventure. We'd been randomly assigned as roommates at the beginning of the semester, and despite our different majors, me in English literature and him in computer science, we hit it off immediately. Alex had this infectious laugh that could light up an entire room, and his spontaneity balanced out my more cautious nature perfectly. He was tall, with perpetually messy brown hair that somehow always looked intentional, and these expressive hazel eyes that crinkled at the corners when he smiled, which was often. It was mid-October when this particular story took place. The semester was in full swing, midterms were approaching, and everyone was feeling the pressure. You know how it is, that point in the term when you're buried under assignments and readings, and your brain is practically begging for a break. That Friday, our floor decided to organize an impromptu pub crawl through the college town. The plan was simple: hit 5 different bars, 1 drink at each, and end the night at the Rusty Nail, the divey bar famous for its karaoke nights and suspiciously strong mixed drinks. The day of the pub crawl, there was this electric energy in our dorm. People were popping into each other's rooms, discussing outfits, and planning the perfect pre-game playlist. Alex was particularly excited, claiming he needed this night out more than anyone after pulling 3 all-nighters that week for a coding project. I remember him bouncing around our room, trying on different shirts and asking my opinion on each one. "Does this scream approachable but mysterious?" he'd ask, holding up a blue button-down that I'd seen him wear at least a dozen times before. His enthusiasm was contagious, and soon I found myself just as excited for the night ahead. As the evening approached, our dorm room transformed into the unofficial meeting spot for the crawl. About 10 of us squeezed into our tiny room, passing around a bottle of cheap vodka and connecting phones to our Bluetooth speaker to add songs to the night's playlist. The air was thick with cologne, perfume, and anticipation. Alex was in his element, mixing drinks in our contraband coffee maker and telling animated stories about his last pub crawl experience, which apparently involved a stolen traffic cone and a very confused campus security officer. Let me explain why these pre-game gatherings matter so much in college. They're not just about the drinking. They're about the bonding, the shared experience of getting ready for a night out together. It's during these moments that inside jokes are born, friendships are solidified, and the night's memories begin to take shape. Looking back, I realize these were some of the most genuine moments of connection in my college experience. Around 9 p.m., we finally headed out into the crisp October night. The streets were alive with other students, all seemingly on their own adventures. Our first stop was O'Malley's, a traditional Irish pub that was a campus favorite due to its lenient ID checking and generously poured pints. The moment we walked in, the warm glow of the bar lights and the sound of laughter wrapped around us like a comfortable blanket. Alex immediately made his way to the bar, somehow squeezing through the crowd with ease and returning with a round of shots for everyone. To surviving midterms, he shouted over the music, raising his glass. We all clinked glasses and downed our shots, the alcohol warming our throats and loosening our inhibitions. I remember watching Alex in that moment, how the amber lights of the pub caught in his hair, how his smile seemed to radiate throughout the entire group. There was something magnetic about him that night, something that drew not just my attention, but everyone else's too. The next few bars went by in a blur of laughter, conversation, and increasingly terrible dance moves. At the library, ironically named so students could truthfully tell their parents where they spent their evenings, Alex challenged everyone to a pool tournament, which he spectacularly lost while maintaining he was strategically building up to a comeback. At the Blue Door, he convinced the DJ to play an obscure 80s song that somehow got the entire bar singing along, even though most of us didn't know the words. And at Finnegan's, he charmed the bartender into giving our group a round of free drinks, a feat that earned him hero status for the rest of the night. It was after leaving Finnegan's, as we were making our way to our fourth stop, that the night took its first unexpected turn. We were walking down College Avenue, laughing about something ridiculous that had happened at the last bar, when Alex suddenly stopped dead in his tracks. His face, which had been flushed with laughter just moments before, drained of color. "Guys," he said, patting his pockets with increasing urgency, "I think I lost my key. Now, you have to understand the significance of this in our dorm. Our building had recently upgraded to an electronic key fob system that cost $50 to replace, and the administrative office wouldn't be open until Monday morning. Plus, our resident advisor, Mark, was notoriously strict about lockouts and charged his own inconvenience fee of making you do his laundry if he had to let you in after midnight." "Are you sure?" I asked, watching as Alex turned his pockets inside out. "Maybe it's in your other jacket?" "I'm only wearing one jacket," he replied, now checking the same pockets for the third time, as if the key might magically materialize. Our friends gathered around, offering to help search. We retraced our steps to Finnegan's, scanning the sidewalk with our phone flashlights, looking under tables at the bar, and even asking the bartender if anyone had turned in a key. No luck. After about 20 minutes of searching, with the night's momentum quickly fading, Alex made a decision that was so typically him. "You know what? Screw it. I'm not letting a stupid key ruin our night," he declared, raising his arms dramatically. "Future Alex can deal with this problem. Present Alex is going to continue having the best night ever." Everyone cheered at this, relieved that the night wouldn't be cut short. Someone suggested we skip the fourth bar and head straight to the Rusty Nail for the grand finale, and the group enthusiastically agreed. As we walked, I pulled Alex aside. "What are you going to do about getting back into the room?" I asked, practical as always. He slung an arm around my shoulder, his warmth a stark contrast to the cool night air. "Don't worry about it. I'll figure something out. Maybe I'll sweet-talk Mark, or maybe I'll just—" He wiggled his eyebrows mischievously. "Find an alternative entrance." I didn't know what he meant by that, but his confidence was reassuring, and I decided to follow his lead and worry about it later. That was the thing about Alex. He had this way of making you believe everything would work out fine, even when all evidence pointed to the contrary. The Rusty Nail was everything a college bar should be: slightly sticky floors, walls covered in decades of graffiti, and a karaoke stage that had witnessed countless embarrassing performances. By the time we arrived, the place was packed, the air thick with the scent of spilled beer and cheap cologne. Someone in our group managed to secure a table, and soon we were all squished together, shouting to be heard over the music and laughing at nothing in particular. Alex, true to his word, seemed determined to make this the best night ever. He was the first one to sign up for karaoke, delivering a hilariously passionate rendition of "Don't Stop Believin'" that had the entire bar joining in for the chorus. He bought a round of the bar's infamous brain freeze shots, which were an alarming blue color and tasted like a mixture of cough syrup and pure regret. And when one of our friends mentioned she'd never played beer pong, he immediately organized an impromptu tournament at a back table. As the night progressed, Alex's laughter became louder, his stories more animated, and his dance moves increasingly uninhibited. There was something freeing about watching him like this, completely in the moment, unbothered by the lost key or the looming midterms or any of the other stresses that usually weighed us down. In those hours, surrounded by friends and music and the warm buzz of alcohol, everything else faded away. It must have been around 2 a.m. when the bartender called last orders, signaling the end of our epic night out. We stumbled out into the now quiet streets, the cool air a shock to our systems after the warmth of the bar. Our group began to splinter off, friends heading in different directions toward their respective dorms or apartments, promises to do this again soon, echoing in the night. Alex and I, along with 2 other friends who lived in our building, began the walk back to our dorm. The campus looked different at night, peaceful and almost magical under the glow of the streetlights. We walked slowly, partly because we were in no rush to end the night, and partly because walking in a straight line had become surprisingly challenging. "So, what's the plan with the key situation?" I finally asked as our dorm building came into view. Alex, who had been humming the chorus of the last karaoke song, stopped and looked at me with what I can only describe as drunken seriousness. "I have," he announced, pausing dramatically. Absolutely no idea. This sent our small group into fits of laughter. One friend suggested we try to pick the lock with a credit card, like in the movies. Another proposed we call Mark, despite the laundry penalty. Alex listened to all these suggestions with exaggerated thoughtfulness before shaking his head. No, I've got it, he said, snapping his fingers. I'll just sleep in the common room until morning. The couches aren't that uncomfortable. I frowned at this. The common room couches were notoriously lumpy, and there was always at least one person pulling an all-nighter there, typing aggressively on their laptop. Plus, it seemed wrong to let my roommate sleep on a couch when we had a perfectly good room, even if he couldn't access it himself. Don't be ridiculous, I said. You can just come in with me. I have my key. It was a simple solution, so obvious that we all looked at each other, wondering why it had taken us so long to reach it. Our other friends bid us good night at this point, heading off to their own rooms, while Alex and I made our way to our building's entrance. I swiped my key fob at the main door, the familiar beep and click signaling our entry. The lobby was deserted at this hour, the overhead lights dimmed to their nighttime setting. We tried to be quiet as we made our way up the stairs to the third floor, though Alex's occasional burst of laughter at seemingly nothing made this challenging. When we reached our door, I fumbled with my key, the simple act of inserting it into the lock requiring more concentration than it should have. Finally, the door swung open to reveal our familiar room, my side meticulously organized, Alex's side looking like a minor hurricane had passed through. The contrast had been a source of friendly banter between us all semester. Home sweet home, Alex sighed, flopping face first onto his unmade bed. He lay there for a moment before rolling over to look at me. Thanks for rescuing me from a night on those awful couches. What are roommates for? I replied, kicking off my shoes and sitting on the edge of my own bed. The room was spinning slightly, a clear sign that I'd had more to drink than I'd realized. We sat in comfortable silence for a few minutes, both processing the events of the night. I was just about to suggest we should probably get some sleep when Alex suddenly sat bolt upright, his eyes wide. Oh my God, he exclaimed. I just remembered something. What? I asked, alarmed by his sudden movement. I told that girl at the blue door that I was a professional dancer, he said, dissolving into laughter. And then I tried to demonstrate by doing that weird move. You know the one. He stood up and attempted to recreate what I vaguely remembered as a failed attempt at breakdancing, but in his current state, it looked more like he was having some kind of seizure. The sight was so ridiculous that I couldn't help but laugh too. You're the worst dancer I've ever seen, I managed to say between laughs. I know, he exclaimed, still attempting his dance and nearly knocking over his desk lamp in the process. But she gave me her number anyway. This set us off again, laughing until our sides hurt. There's something about late-night, post-bar laughter that hits differently. It's more genuine somehow, more unrestrained. In that moment, watching Alex laugh so hard he could barely stand, I felt a wave of affection for him that caught me by surprise. Eventually, our laughter subsided, replaced by the comfortable silence of two people who know each other well enough not to need constant conversation. I changed into my sleep clothes and was just about to get into bed when Alex, who had been lying on his own bed still fully dressed, suddenly sat up again. I'm still wearing my shoes, he announced, as if this was a profound revelation. Yes, you are, I confirmed, amused by his delayed realization. He looked down at his feet with a furrowed brow, as if his shoes had personally betrayed him. After a moment of what appeared to be deep contemplation, he bent down to untie them, a task that seemed to require all his concentration. I watched as he struggled with the simple task, his fingers fumbling with the laces. Need some help there? I offered, trying not to laugh. I've got it, he insisted, though the evidence suggested otherwise. After another minute of struggling, he finally managed to kick off his shoes, sending them flying across the room in different directions. Victory, he declared, raising his arms triumphantly. I shook my head, smiling as I climbed into my bed and pulled the covers up. The familiar comfort of my own bed after a long night out was one of life's simple pleasures. I reached over to turn off my bedside lamp, plunging the room into darkness save for the soft glow of the streetlight filtering through our thin curtains. Good night, Alex, I said, settling into my pillow. Night, he replied, his voice already heavy with approaching sleep. I closed my eyes, feeling the pleasant weight of tiredness pulling me towards sleep. The events of the night played through my mind like a highlight reel, the laughter, the music, the feeling of being young and carefree with nothing more pressing to worry about than a lost key. These were the moments that made college special. I thought hazily as sleep began to claim me. I must have been drifting off when I felt my mattress suddenly dip. My eyes flew open to find Alex climbing into my bed, still fully clothed except for his shoes, laughing quietly to himself. "What are you doing?" I asked, too surprised to be anything but direct. "I'm cold," he explained simply, as if this was a perfectly normal thing to do. "And your bed looked comfortable." I was about to protest when he added, "Plus, I lost my key. Remember? This is me finding an alternative entrance." He dissolved into laughter again at his own joke, the bed shaking with his mirth. There was something so genuinely amused in his laughter, so free of any awkwardness or ulterior motive, that I couldn't help but laugh too. The situation was objectively ridiculous. Two grown men squished into a twin XL bed, one of them still wearing jeans and a button-down shirt, both of them laughing like it was the funniest thing in the world. "You're ridiculous," I told him, shifting to make room. "I know," he agreed cheerfully, making himself comfortable. "But you love it." The strange thing was, he wasn't wrong. There was something endearing about his complete lack of inhibition, his ability to find humor in any situation. As we lay there, the silence between us felt charged with something I couldn't quite name, not uncomfortable, but definitely different from our usual roommate dynamic. "Your bed is way more comfortable than mine," Alex observed after a moment, his voice quieter now. "We should switch." "Not a chance," I replied, smiling in the darkness. "You made your lumpy bed, now lie in it." "But I'm not in my bed," he pointed out, laughing again. "I'm in yours." I rolled my eyes, though he couldn't see it in the dark. "Go to sleep, Alex." Okay, he conceded, finally settling down. "But seriously, thanks for letting me crash with you. You're the best roommate ever." There was a sincerity in his voice that cut through the alcohol-induced silliness of the moment. I felt a strange flutter in my chest at his words, a warmth that had nothing to do with the shared body heat in the small bed. "You're welcome," I said simply, not trusting myself to say more. Within minutes, Alex's breathing had evened out, and I knew he'd fallen asleep. I lay awake a bit longer, acutely aware of his presence beside me, the slight weight of his arm thrown across my waist, the faint scent of his cologne mixed with the bar smells of the night, the gentle rhythm of his breathing. It was strange how something so unexpected could feel so natural, so right. Eventually, I too drifted off to sleep, lulled by the comfort of not being alone. Morning arrived with unforgiving brightness, sunlight streaming through our inadequate curtains directly onto my face. I woke with a slight headache and a dry mouth, the telltale signs of a night of drinking. It took me a moment to register the warm weight against my side, the arm still draped across me. "Alex." The memories of the previous night came flooding back. The pub crawl, the lost key, the late-night laughter, and finally, Alex climbing into my bed. I turned my head slightly to look at him. In sleep, his face was relaxed, peaceful. His usually perfectly styled hair was a mess, sticking up at odd angles, and there was a slight shadow of stubble on his jaw. I'd never seen him like this before, vulnerable, unguarded. It stirred something in me that I wasn't quite ready to examine. As if sensing my gaze, Alex's eyes fluttered open. For a moment, he looked confused, blinking against the bright light. Then his eyes met mine, and understanding dawned on his face, followed quickly by a smile. "Morning," he said, his voice rough with sleep. Did I climb into your bed last night?" "You did," I confirmed, watching his reaction carefully. To my relief, he didn't seem embarrassed or uncomfortable. Instead, he laughed, that same infectious laugh that had drawn me to him from the beginning. "Well, that's one way to solve the lost key problem." I couldn't help but smile back. "How's your head?" I asked, noticing the slight wince as he sat up. "Like a marching band decided to practice inside it," he admitted, running a hand through his disheveled hair. "Worth it, though. Last night was epic." I nodded in agreement, sitting up as well. The movement made my own head throb slightly, a reminder that I wasn't as young as I used to be. "It was pretty great," I agreed, "though I think I'm getting too old for pub crawls." Alex snorted at this. "You're 21, not 90. But I get it. I feel ancient right now." He stretched, his shirt riding up slightly to reveal a strip of skin above his jeans. I looked away quickly, suddenly very interested in the pattern of my bedspread. "So," Alex said after a moment, a hint of uncertainty in his voice that was unusual for him. "About last night." I tensed, unsure of where he was going with this. Was he going to apologize for climbing into my bed? Make a joke to diffuse any potential awkwardness? Pretend it never happened? "I think I owe you breakfast," he finished, surprising me. "For saving me from a night on those awful common room couches. And for, you know, sharing your bed with a drunk idiot who lost his key. The tension in my shoulders eased. Breakfast sounds good, I agreed, relieved that things between us didn't seem weird. Though you're buying coffee too. I need caffeine if I'm going to survive this hangover. Deal, Alex said, his smile brightening. Let's go to that place on Main Street with the amazing pancakes. We got ready in comfortable silence, moving around each other with the ease of people who have shared a small space for months. As we were about to leave, Alex stopped at the door, turning to face me with an expression I couldn't quite read. Hey, he said, his voice unusually serious. Thanks for last night. Not just for letting me crash in your bed, but for everything. I had a really good time with you. There was something in the way he said it, a weight to his words that suggested he meant more than just the pub crawl. I felt that same flutter in my chest from the night before, stronger now in the clear light of day. Me too, I replied simply, holding his gaze. For a moment, we just looked at each other, something unspoken passing between us. Then Alex smiled, breaking the tension, and opened the door. Come on, pancakes await. As we walked across campus toward Main Street, nursing our hangovers and recounting funny moments from the night before, I couldn't help but feel that something had shifted between us. The boundaries of our friendship had blurred, opening up possibilities I hadn't considered before. Whether it was the shared experience of the pub crawl, the intimacy of sharing a bed, or something that had been building all along, I wasn't sure. But I was certain of one thing. I was looking forward to seeing where it might lead. College is full of unexpected moments that shape us in ways we never anticipate. Sometimes it's a challenging class that changes your career path. Sometimes it's a chance meeting with someone who becomes important in your life. And sometimes, just sometimes, it's a lost key during a pub crawl that opens a door you didn't even know was there. As Alex and I sat across from each other at breakfast that morning, laughing over pancakes and coffee, I realized that this might be one of those moments, a seemingly random event that could change everything. And I was perfectly okay with that. Total _char_count, 18,687.